What is your most controversial baseball take?
Is it possible that we could get anybody that is of the age of 40 as the commissioner of baseball? I, I was present and alive and fully invested in baseball during the Bud Selig era, and to see an All-Star game end in a tie is mind-numbing to me. Um, to have a guy who I would say maybe it's controversial, but I mean to see guys obviously using juice, it being widely known, nobody cared because but we're in seats. Baseball stadiums were sold out. Baseball was fun. Guys are hitting home runs. Like it was a fun time to watch baseball. And then to sit there and scapegoat it to, oh, we didn't know anything. It's the players. And then go through where now it's all this PEDs and not that I don't think that um, there should be rules in place, and there are, and players should be held accountable to those rules. No problem with it, none. But it's hard for me to get upset or mad at players for doing something that at the time there wasn't a rule against. Everyone's doing it, and you start talking about like, you know, I had to make just a recent change of making a business decision for myself and my family. Like I couldn't go back and do Penn because of several things that happened in my life, but financials, come to play. If someone in the clubhouse is taking whatever and it's 5 guys, 10 guys, whatever, and their stats all go poof, and you're trying to make the team and you're trying to, stay in the game and you're trying to put food on the table, like, hey, if I take this, like I'm gonna, yeah, it's not gonna get me in. No, hard for me not to blame. I think anybody forced in that situation. So, once everybody got scapegoated, now there's rules. Okay, no problem. Once Selig steps away, okay, like what are we going to get? And we just get a disciple of Selig, and I cannot stand the commissioner who calls the World Series trophy a hunk of metal. You should be stripped of your title immediately. You have zero pride in the sport. I can't trust you to navigate and get baseball to a better place if you talk about the trophy, the crown jewel of winning it all, a hunk of metal. Like, bye, see you, stripped, find somebody else. All commissioners work for the owners, but man, like, I don't know how there's not somebody and somebody's in that ownership group that go, how do we not find, the guy's escaping me. He was the Boston Red Sox GM that won it for him. Can't think of what his name was. The one that was gonna Billy Bean would have been there, so he wouldn't have gotten the job. But the one with the Cubs, you know what I'm talking about?
Epstein.
Yeah. How can we not find an Epstein, like a young guy who is sound of mind, who's going to lead this into the next year? Like you've seen it with all these other leagues. I mean, football just keeps going up and up and up and up. You say what you want about Roger Goodell, like he does. He is growing the game. Adam Silver in the NBA, growing the league. In baseball, like they're trying to introduce these new rules, and I think that they've helped to a degree that this year. But it's like I don't feel like we're growing the game. I feel like we're stuck, and we're just now being like, well, let's try to throw some. I don't feel like there's just like, I don't know, just this smooth process of like growing the game and getting more enjoyment. Like it just feels so dead to me. And I just feel like to me, I don't know, there should be term limits that like no different than any other person that holds on. Like you got 8 years, then switch it over to somebody else. Get somebody who's going to have fresh ideas, because if it just goes from Manfred to another person underneath him who just comes from the same, tree of seed, I just feel like baseball is really going to die out. You're starting to see it. I think they're panicking. They're bringing these new rules in. I think it's helped, but I'm concerned. I'm concerned of what the game's going to look like in just 5 years. I didn't have that concern 15 years ago. Now it's starting to concern me where it's like, this is not something I grew up with. And it's not something that I'm afraid to change, but talking about robo umps, not now we already got there's no more throwing down signs. Now we have pitch communicators. Like you're taking out nuances of the game that like are nostalgic. They're hey, if another team fucking stole your signs, get better signs. Like, don't get mad because you got picked up. I mean, me and Mason, the owner of Wrecking Yard, we talk about it. Like, if there's robo-ums, then the catching position goes out the window. I don't really need to work on framing. I don't need to work on really like anything other than, hey, does he have a strong arm? Okay, great, he can throw down the second. You lose the art of the game. I mean, I just watched the College World Series, and I'm watching Wake Forest absolutely destroy my Alabama team, and no more than because their catcher is taking balls that are that far off the ground and framing it to get it look back like it's a strike, and I'm losing my goddamn mind. But like, then that doesn't happen. That changes complexions of the game. So, I think my controversial take is just like, how do we get somebody that's term limits? How do we get something that's new and is going to come with fresh ideas of actually growing this sport and getting it to something that all eras and fan bases of the sport can appreciate and are comfortable with and are excited about? I feel like it's almost like, we went cold turkey. Like we made a change and there's a divide. And that shouldn't be like how a sport grows. There should be gradualness. There should be a plan. Yeah, that's my intake on it.